To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I'm your host, Andy Zomerman.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Al Day, which doesn't make sense because you didn't say I am one of your hosts.
I know, that was so weird. Do you know why? Do you know why?
Why?
I was second guessing myself with the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because now
I know I was thinking about this.
Hello, everyone. And which I'm totally fine with. But as soon as ladies and gentlemen came out of my mouth, I started getting second guess. I got nervous. I started breaking into a sweat a little bit.
I'm super excited about having more gender neutral introduction, but I thought it should be to all who come to this happy place, welcome. So that's just the way I like it.
It would be cool. And what would also have been cool is if the people that are freaking out about it now were actually freaking about it when it happened last year. So, you know, that's a thing too, but I guess.
Well, people who freak out about these things are not necessarily the people who are really thinking about them deeply. So.
Good point. All right. Well, I am happy that we're here together. And believe it or not, we have somebody who has not been on this program before. And she
I am fairly amazed. How have we gone this long without her on this program?
I don't know. I know that one time we asked her and her friend to be on, and it just was one of those things of like, yeah, we'll do it. We don't have time, blah, 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 you know, like teenagers do.
Right.
But she is in the late part. I'm not even doing this right now. I'm not going to fight with my daughter right now. But anyway.
She is one of my two favorite of your daughters.
Oh, that's good. She's one of my two favorites too.
I know. It's great.
It is great. So everybody say hi to Annika, the younger of the Zomerman daughters. Hello, Annika.
Hello, everyone. I apologize for the street noise. I'm currently residing in a big city where it's very loud. So if you hear sirens throughout the podcast, I am so sorry.
Annika,
you just got to stop doing crime. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. I'm just a rebel like that.
Annika is at Columbia College, Chicago, which is right in the heart of the South Loop in the city. And so every time we talk to her, we get all the street noise and the sirens. It's become a thing for sure. So my Disney week will pale in comparison to those two. So let me go first so they don't show me up like they are going to do. But before I do share my Disney week, I have to tell you all, because, you know, we love Expedition Roasters coffee, and you know that I am drinking my coffee right now. Well, you might not know but I am drinking.
I mean, I know I can actually see it, but I don't know that our listeners would have any idea.
I bought the Thunderstruck coffee, which has that picture of Thor on the front of it. It is so good. It might be my favorite. Like and
it can be Thor because of public domain, right? Like Thor
it's not Thor Marvel Thor on there. It's Thor, the Norse god. That is there, and very, very cool illustrations. That's another favorite part of Expedition Roasters, the illustrations and the artists that they get for their packaging. And so I just had to tell everybody that Thunderstruck is really good. I did show a picture of it a while back, and I hadn't tried it yet. I approve. You can find their link on our show notes or on our webpage. If you guys ever want to go order, I encourage you to go over just to look at the artwork, even if you're not seeing the coffee right now or needing coffee right now. Go look at the artwork. It is so fun.
I'm running low on my Expedition Roaster, so I need to make another order, and I'm looking at the sampler pack.
Yeah, that's what Emma did.
So I can kind of try the different ones, because I tend to be a creature of habit and get like, I like this one, I'm going to stick with this one, but I kind of want to try the other stuff.
Yeah, that's what Emma did. So very cool. Also, before I start my Disney week again, which pales in comparison to theirs, I'm going to ask everybody if they wouldn't mind going to their podcast station and leaving a review after you listen to this. So we are in need of some reviews. I guess if you hate us, I don't care if you don't review, but if you like us and want to review at your podcast station, that would be great, especially if you're listening on YouTube, which is really weird because YouTube is for watching, but apparently it's for listening to, and we are there. So while we're not video quite yet, you can listen on YouTube. I know. Don't even get me started, but it's a thing. People listen to podcasts on YouTube.
You got started 30 years ago, and I haven't been able to stop it since then. So I just gave up somewhere like 29 and a half years ago.
But Annika should know. Annika, people are listening to podcasts on YouTube, even if there's no video. It's just like a picture.
That is very true. A lot of people use YouTube as a free source to get a lot of content. So that includes podcasts, and radio plays are often found on YouTube. I'm not much in just the audio world, I'm a lot more of a visual learner, so I tend to go towards that side of YouTube. It is the most popular for obvious reasons. But there's definitely a lot of just audio, a lot of music playlists, Broadway original recordings. A lot of them are on YouTube and you can't find them anywhere else. Lots of stuff like that.
All right.
I never thought about radio plays. It's pretty awesome. I'm going to look for some of that stuff. It's for me. I listen to stuff on YouTube because it's easier for me to just put something on YouTube on the living room TV and listen while I'm doing dishes or something like that. So that's how I will do like podcasts on YouTube.
So interesting. So interesting.
Yes, I am. It's true.
Over 50-year-old woman is learning on a daily basis, but we're there too. So I guess if you're listening to us there, thank you. And please subscribe and leave a review if you like us. Okay. Now on to my Disney week, which again, pales in comparison. Have I said that?
We get it. Okay. You don't have to keep saying it. We get it.
Well, I shared this with our community, our duelists. I shared it with our community, and Al let me know of a podcast called Sounds Like a Cult. And he let me know this podcast episode was about Disney adults. So of course I had to listen to, and I am hooked. I am fascinated, not only with this podcast, just fascinated with what they had to say about Disney adults, not knowing much about Disney adults. Right. And so, oh my gosh. And so some of the things they got wrong, and it was just the cultish part of me that wanted to just go in there and say, no, you're wrong. This isn't how it works.
Which proves their point.
Exactly what I'm saying. So I had to like step back and say, okay, I'm just going to listen and I'm going to appreciate it. But then they did have a Disney influencer on there afterwards, who I thought did a fantastic job just sort of saying what a Disney adult was. And especially with the Disney influencer, who's way like beyond what we will ever be. It was just kind of cool. So I loved it. And now, of course, I'm stuck on that podcast for other things as well.
It's a really good podcast.
I didn't know Trader Joe's was a cult. I had no idea.
The for folks who haven't listened, the whole point is they look at something that people are really into and sort of say, is this a cult? Does it sort of have similarities to a cult? So one of my favorites was Lulu Row and some of that kind of stuff. It was really, it's a good podcast, way better than this one. And I listened to it quite a bit.
Yeah, it is good. And you're right. And I didn't listen to the LuLaRoe one because I actually watched the LuLaRoe documentary that they had out called Lula Rich, which is crazy. If anybody, my daughters and I wore it, so did not sell it, but we wore it. And so it was very, very interesting. And so that was my Disney week. But Al, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Annika. What was your Disney week, Al?
I went to this little, it's I don't know if a lot of people have heard about it. It's a little place in SoCal. Yeah. Used to be some orange groves. Many people might not know about it. I think they call it Disneyland. If I'm not mistaken.
Land instead Disneyland. Of a world.
Yeah. It was a pretty interesting place. Although I didn't get a chance to explore it as much as I normally would. I had renewed, got my magic key. This was my first experience with sort of the reservation system. So I managed to I was going to be there for 3 days for WonderCon. So I got a reservation it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I got a reservation for Friday and a reservation for Sunday because Saturday is a blackout date for me. And I only was able to be there for like an hour or so on Friday night because I was only there while I was waiting for Emma and Annika to meet me for dinner. And then Sunday, I had a few hours there, not that much. So I was able to get like 2 rides in. I did Space Mountain and Smuggler's Run. Oh, okay. Because I really, really, really wanted to do Rise of the Resistance. And I just couldn't fit it with the time I had. Because by the time the con ended, didn't have time to do it before my flight. But it's a pretty entertaining place. And I avoided spending $175 on a collectible at the Disneyland shop, even though I really, really wanted to. They had this sort of metal Disneyland sign with all the different lands on it. That was really cool. But it didn't have Galaxy's Edge. And I was like, well, if it doesn't have Galaxy's Edge, is it, but I did not spend that money. But Disneyland's a pretty fun place. You should check it out.
Yeah, it sounds great. And we should tell our listeners, because they've been invested if they've been listening for a long time. You got tell them what happened to you on Thursday that was so incredible. That has nothing to do
Yeah. That's not
whatsoever.
strictly speaking Disney related, but I managed to take my qualifying exam for my doctorate and I passed, and I am now what they call ABD, all but dissertation. Which sounds simple, but it just means that now I'm on my own. I get to go do research and do coding and all sorts of silly stuff, but to write my dissertation. So I am really excited about that. And my brain is mush because the qualifying exam is no joke. For anybody who's ever done it or anybody who's planning to do it, it is no joke. And Annika knows I had 2 or 3 meetings with my faculty while we were at WonderCon that I had to keep stepping out for in preparation for this thing. And I am just so stoked. And if I seem extra dumb today, it's because I used all my smarts on Thursday.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool. Congratulations. We don't have to call you Dr. Day quite yet.
Not yet.
Right? Okay. All right. And so now, Annika, let's go to you. What was your fantastic Disney week that, of course, pales in comparison to mine, if I haven't mentioned that?
Yeah, so I also went to this really cool place that used to be Orange Groves that Al was talking about. It was really cool. Yeah, there's definitely, it smelled like oranges, especially on that one ride, soaring over California. That was great.
Yeah, they just it smelled a lot like oranges, strangely enough.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I actually did go to Disneyland. I had a great time. We only did one day because my sister, the cast member of the family, managed to get me in, but just that one day before I left. And so we ran the entire park as much as we possibly could. We did a lot. I was very tired by the end of the day, but it's very fun as I get older and we go to Disney a lot, especially with a sister and her friends who are all cast members, and they get their special little perks from here to here. We did most everything that I wanted to do, and for a lot of the day we were just able to kind of walk around and hang out. Like, we didn't have to be running to each and every ride because the lines were so long. And we actually made it through the day without buying Lightning Lane or Genie Plus or anything. Of course, it did. Yeah. It did help that we had a few friends who were currently working rides, and certain situations with cast members, they can kind of speed up the line a little bit. But of course, it's always with great discretion, and they only use it a few amounts. So we only really got that perk once or twice, but it was a great day. And I'm still shocked that we didn't have to use any of those pay fast pass type situation systems.
How long was your wait for Rise of the Resistance?
If I remember correctly, we ended up timing it at around 45 minutes.
That's
a little bit less than. It was amazing. It definitely said it was higher, which if you've listened, I'm sure that they've mentioned it before. They really hike up those wait times to get people to go to other rides in the park.
Or to buy the Lightning Lane. Of course. I think it said 50 minutes for like a little bit, and we kind of all just booked it over to Rise and just got in line right away. We met up with a few of Emma's friends there who were all very, very nice and cool. It was an awesome ride. I love that ride so much. I wish the line wasn't so long so you could just ride it over and over again. I learned some new facts as well. Hanging out with cast members has its perks. I learned a lot about this Galaxy's Edge area, which if you guys ever want to do an episode on that, I think you should get that cast member involved through Emma, because there is lore. There is a lot of lore behind Galaxy's Edge, and I was not expecting it. Can you share one thing?
Yes, actually, I think my favorite one was one of the cast members that we were talking to. I'll leave her name out just for now in case she doesn't want to appear here, but she was talking to me. She used to work in costumes, and when they were costuming for Galaxy's Edge, I was about to say Rise of the Guardians. That's incorrect.
That movie will come out in about 10 years.
Okay, if you are familiar with the ride, you know that you get to see some cast members in a certain Senate uniform, some certain lieutenants along the way. And if you look closely, there is a difference between the male assigned and female assigned costumes for these characters. And she pointed out that just because of how the fit works and how they have to make it look not too blocky or not too, they want it to look nice and like the movies. The female coded costumes actually have one less stripe, I believe it is, on their cuffs. And that actually demotes them in terms of rank. So while they call themselves a lieutenant, they're not wearing the proper uniform for a lieutenant in the Star Wars universe.
Wow. Misogyny in Star Wars. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I know. This is groundbreaking, actually.
You heard it here first. We're going to start a Disney controversy.
Well, I am jealous, but I'm glad that you guys both got to spend some time in the park.
Although not together, strangely enough.
That is strange, but you did spend a lot of time together at WonderCon, which is the topic of this episode. So that's a good coincidence.
Is it a coincidence? I mean, we sort of talked about this before, and that's why we asked Annika.
Okay, fair enough. So Al, for those who don't know, and it is different than San Diego Comic-Con. So tell our duelists, what is WonderCon and why does it have anything to do with Disney? Why would we be talking about it here?
So WonderCon, most people are familiar with the big Comic-Con International that happens in San Diego every summer. WonderCon started as a separate comics convention in the Bay Area up until just a few years ago. And it was acquired by the Comic-Con International folks, SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con. And it was moved to Anaheim because they were having difficulty getting spaces in the Bay Area. And eventually they just couldn't find spaces in the Bay. And so it moved to Anaheim permanently just 5 or 6 years ago, I want to say, not that long ago. And it is a comic convention. Comic and pop culture convention, more accurately, as Annika can talk about. Comics have become a smaller and smaller part of it, but there's still plenty there for a comic book nerd like me. But it's really a pop culture convention. And because it has now sort of found a permanent home in Anaheim, it's really the place for a ton of Disney cosplayers to come. We saw some of the most amazing Disney cosplay I've ever seen. And not only was it just like really cool, but sort of gender bent versions and steampunk versions and just twists on it was so amazing. And hanging out with Annika, who knows so much more about cosplay than I do, Annika was able to point out like, okay, so you see how that skirt is done? It's da 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 da. And it was just really, really cool. Like stuff I would never think of. It was pretty awesome.
So Annika, what were some of your favorite cosplays that you saw?
Oh, this is so easy. I think my favorite, especially Disney cosplay that I saw, there was this group of about 5 women who entered the big masquerade, which is the big costume contest, essentially at the end of Saturday. And they took 5 Disney princesses and turned them into Bridgerton-style, Regency-inspired costumes. I am a huge historical dress nerd. I'm definitely an amateur. I'm only getting into it, only got into it the past couple of years, but I have dove headfirst into it. If you're familiar with Bridgerton, I feel like a lot of people are right now. That's a big Regency historical fantasy drama. But it was very interesting to see because I saw one of the costumes up close as I ran into one of them in the line the next day, which was the Sleeping Beauty one. And it looked like whoever made those costumes of that group, if they all made them or not, they knew what they were doing. The fabrics they used looked correct. There's, I don't know exactly what it's called. I want to call it silk dupiani. That could be completely inaccurate. I'm really bad with fabric types. But it's basically this very, very shiny, pretty fabric. And it kind of looks like it has a little, like it's very stripy up and down. And it has these little pills in it from time to time, which is usually a good signifier that it's a natural silk, or people will use that to imitate a natural silk. It's not going to be an even weave. I know this is getting like really nerdy and over the top, but
it
was
I'm
just interesting.
Okay like really nerdy and over the top.
Fair point. But it looked very accurate for in the Regency era. That's probably a fabric they would use. The cuts were very, very good. However, in Bridgerton, their costumes aren't actually all that accurate. There's a lot of YouTubers who are historical dress costubers, as they call themselves, cosplay YouTubers. And a lot of them are pointing out that they're very much a fantasy version of Regency. They use fabrics that wouldn't have been used. They use sometimes colors that wouldn't have been used. But despite our popular belief, history was very colorful. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. They liked color. But it was very interesting to kind of see how they took both the Bridgerton inspiration and the historical dress inspiration, because they obviously had a working knowledge of both, and turned it into these beautiful princess characters. And I think it was a wonderful, wonderful job. And if any of those women are listening for whatever reason, I love your costumes so much. Please give me your knowledge.
Annika, I wonder if, and I don't know if all of our users or our listeners are universally familiar with cosplay. Can you tell us what cosplay is, why people do it, and why it's fascinating? I'm already sold on it. I love cosplay. I don't do it myself, but it's one of my favorite things to walk around and look at all the cosplayers. Talk about it a little bit if you could.
Of course, cosplay is basically just costume play. That's what it's short for, but it has definitely expanded past that definition. Usually it will involve some sort of costume because that's what it is, but it is become its own thing. It is its own culture, its own being, especially in the nerd world. It has just advanced so much in the past couple of years alone. I only got into it more recently when I first went to Comic-Con San Diego back in...
That was 2015.
Annika and I were trying to figure out when was it? It was 2015?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah. I remembered it was in middle school because that's when I bought the red jacket for my Scarlet Witch cosplay. That was just after, I believe, Age of Ultron had come out. And then I wore that jacket for like an entire year in 8th grade. It was a thing. Anyway, that was when I first really discovered what cosplay was and decided, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to dress up all the time just because I can. This sounds awesome. So we did. And I had a blast. And unfortunately, after that, I didn't really have a lot of chances to get back into it. There wasn't a lot of places I felt like, oh, I can cosplay. I can do this without being laughed at, which unfortunately is just the truth. A lot of people are like, why would you dress up? It's not Halloween. You're an adult. What are you doing? Like, there's no point. Oh, that was loud. I'm sorry if you heard that car. But
Chicago.
Basically, Chicago. As the years went on, cosplay became more and more popular, and you can see people doing it all the time now, especially if there's conventions, of course, but people will go over the top. I know probably around 2015 is when it's starting to pick up a lot in speed. People were seeing it more and becoming more accustomed to it. It's honestly hard to go your life now without seeing cosplay at least once, whether or not you know what it is. It is everywhere. It's in media now. We have characters in shows dressing up in cosplay. It's really hard to escape it. People do it in everyday life as well, which I always think is very fun. And it doesn't always have to be those people in like the big costumes. They're not going to walk around with fairy wings necessarily. Someone could be wearing a completely normal outfit and surprise, it's actually a cosplay from something that just happens to be realistic.
I'll tell you, believe it or not, there are actually cosplayers in middle school on a regular basis. I'm not saying like all of them, but there will be like 2 or 3 kids who on a given day will just cosplay one of their favorite anime characters, or, and I don't know who they are, or a video game. A lot of them are doing their video game characters. So when they come in, it's very obvious that they're cosplaying somebody. But I think it's really interesting that, like you said, it doesn't have to be Halloween. It doesn't have to be a special spirit day. It's just, a Tuesday in April, and somebody's going to come dressed as their favorite video game character. And it's just kind of, I don't know. There it is. I'm speaking as an adult, so I hope I'm getting this right, but I haven't seen a lot of bullying or making fun of for this. Does that make sense? Again, it's middle school. I could be totally wrong. And
here's the thing. I think I love that schools are okay with kids cosplaying. My experience with cosplay is almost entirely folks at Comic-Con, and the folks I've talked to, and I'd be curious about Annika's take on this, because I love to look at people cosplay, but I for me, it would be a nightmare, because it, like, you have this costume on and people really dig it, and that you get a lot of positive reinforcement for it, but you can't walk 2 feet without somebody wanting to take a picture. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to go to this panel, or I just want to buy comics. And Annika and I had a really good conversation about like I love watching people cosplay. In my brain, I cannot imagine why I myself wouldn't want to do it. So I'm curious from Annika's perspective, like, what do folks get out of it, like from an emotional perspective?
I mean, honestly, I'm an actor. It's going to be the attention. as much as me as a person, I don't usually like to be the center of attention. Like it's very anxiety inducing for me. But at the same time, if I do something that I feel proud of, or there's just something big in my life, I need all the outside validation I can get, which is, that's for my therapist to figure out. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of validation. If you work so hard on something, you want to show it off. People put a lot of time into cosplays. There are like people who can just do it on a normal day and it's probably very thrown together. Like you can just thrift things and put an outfit together and it's fine. Even one of the cosplays I wore to WonderCon was the Wreck-It Ralph Anna in her loungewear. No one knew who I was. I think one person noticed my shirt and was like, oh, that's clever because it says we finish each other's and then it's a photo of a sandwich. But no one knew that I was cosplaying her unless I told them, which is perfectly fine.
But isn't that part of the thrill of it? At least for me, when I go to cosplayers and I recognize something like specifically, their eyes light up. Like a few years back at San Diego Comic-Con, I saw a guy who was cosplaying as Superman, which is fine, but his suit was black and white and he had makeup on that was like gray and he was cosplaying as like the black and white George Reeves Superman. And I like stopped in the hallway and like ran up to him like, that is the coolest cosplay I've ever seen. And he was like, oh my God, man, thank you. Like his eyes lit up because he was like, a lot of people just didn't get what he was going for. And I was like, I get what you're going for. You're an awesome human being. Can I give you $20? And it's that kind of excitement. I think from my friends that cosplay is like, it's almost better when you have an obscure cosplay and like one person out of 1,000 like gets it.
Yeah, definitely. There's things like what I did, like no one's really going to get it, but like, you know what? I was having fun. It was just like a old shirt. I bought some shorts and a t-shirt. That was it. But there's also a lot of, those lesser known characters. I actually met up with one of my friends that I met online while we were there. And I will leave them anonymous because I didn't ask permission to share this. So, but they were dressed up as a NPC from the game Monster Prom, which is a non-Disney property. So if you're a Disney person, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, for us non-nerds, I'm not saying I'm not a nerd, but what's NCP?
Oh, not NCP. Oh my gosh. NPC. So a non-player character. So a lot of times in video games or D&D, tabletop RPG, role-playing game, you'll find PCs and NPCs. Those are just player characters, non-player characters. So if you are playing a character, you are a PC. If there's some random bartender that the DM, Dungeon Master, or the video game is playing for you, that's an NPC. Basically, there's this small NPC. It's a cat. I forget their official title, but it's like name, the small Latino cat is their name. I don't know what the actual name is, but my friend created a human version of that character. So she had like one of those movable tails and she wore like a nice big witch's hat. And it was awesome. It's one of those NPCs that sells you things. So it was like a bunch of drinks that give you stat boosts and stuff. So she had 4 of the drinks on a little tray that she carried around. And I think 2 people actually recognized it while we were there. No one would know what this is. It's a very stylized version of a character no one knows. But when those few moments arise, it was like, this is amazing. This is great. Like they wanted a photo. They were so excited to see this character because no one would do that. Like who thinks of that? And the same goes for making your own
people think of that. That's who thinks of that.
That's a fair point. And just like that one noir Superman, like you're going to find people who have this really, really, really niche thing, even of popular properties like Superman. Everyone knows who Superman is. Very few people are going to know that specific type. And I think those are the best ones to do because you get the excitement of everyone being like, that's a cool version of this famous character. And also the people who are like, I know exactly what you're going for. And this is amazing. And all the detail and work you put in it, it makes you feel so validated.
When WonderCon was over, I texted Al and I said, thank you so much for taking Annika to WonderCon. She had such a great time. And Al responded, I just wanted her to be around her people. I'm like, yep. That's what she is. There's another, and I don't even want to say it's cosplaying. It's not really cosplaying, but something that has grown in a fad is Disneybounding. And I know that they had 2 panels on Disneybounding at WonderCon. Al, you went to one of them.
I did go to one of them. Mm-hmm.
So, and both of my girls have been Disneybounding since I think it was before it was a thing. Anyway, Al, what did you learn? Well, where do I want to start? Annika, tell us what Disneybounding is. And then Al, from somebody who doesn't do it, I want to hear what the panel was like for you. So Annika, tell us what Disneybounding is.
So Disneybounding, if you're unfamiliar, was actually something before Disneybounding was a thing, before it had a name. It was just dressing in normal day outfits that resembled Disney characters in the parks, because adults, once you're past a certain age, you can't dress up in the parks anymore. And a lot of people were like, that's lame. I want to be a princess. So they would wear, like a 50s light blue prom dress to the parks and do their hair up in a Cinderella bun and wear a headband and be like, look, I look like Cinderella, but I can't get in trouble because I'm not technically dressing up. So then I can't remember the exact name of this person. There was one person who started coining it, and they created this thing called Disneybounding. And they used an app. I am now not remembering the name, but there was a very famous app around that time that basically you could look up clothing and accessories that were being sold in real stores, and you can link them. But essentially, you take the photos and create an outfit. And they had their own little logo, their little Disneybounding logo, and they would publish them. And it's basically, if you look it up, you'll find tons of these.
Especially
They're just
on Pinterest. It's on Pinterest.
Oh, it is very much on Pinterest. Basically anything. It's just all these different types of outfits. They started expanding into more and more and more as it got more popular. So there's everyday outfits. There's prom outfits. Anything you can think of inspired by a Disney character.
Running outfits.
Oh yeah, running outfits, lots of stuff. And it got really, really popular. My sister and I were definitely making some of those on that app that it originated on from the beginning. Mine were not very good. That was before I really understood how to match clothes. So that was a fun time. My sister definitely gave me a lot of help. She was very good at them. Yeah, that's how it kind of got its start.
Al, what did you think? Like when you went to the panel, were they talking to people who didn't know what it was, or were they talking to people who already did it and just wanted more information?
I think when you go to a place like WonderCon, it's hard to talk to people who are super unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people like me were like, I have some passing familiarity with it, but I just want to hear more. And so the panel I went to had, and it was really cool. So they had, I think, 5 Disneybounders, and each of them dressed up as it was Mickey, Goofy, Donald, Daisy, and Minnie, right? And like you walk in and they're all up there on the panel, and you're like, okay, I get the colors, and your brain sort of does this weird thing where you're sort of resolving, like, because it's street clothes, right? Like as Annika talked about, it's not necessarily an everyday outfit, but it's also not something you couldn't wear to work or couldn't wear to, sort of out to a party. And so I thought it was just really cool. And I think when they got to talking, so many people, like, this is one of the things about comic conventions, WonderCon, Comic-Con, is I do a lot of presentations at like work conventions where people are like, I am here and I have to be here and I can't wait for this panel to be over so I can go drink, right? But when you go to comic conventions, everybody's like on the edge of their seat. And so people were just like, you never want for questions, right? And so they were just talking about how they got into it. And it ended up being so many people were like, I want to do this. Tell me how. That most of the questions were like, where do you get your clothes? How do you decide what to do? So many people were like, what is the line where you're going to get in trouble with Disney? Like if you go to the park, because part of the challenge of Disneybounding is, and I understand for good reason, Disney doesn't want adults to cosplay at Disneyland or at the Disney parks because they don't want to confuse young children about, and I hate to say it, but everybody doesn't have good intention. And so they don't want to have somebody who's like, oh, I'm going to go to Disney Park and attract the attention of children for nefarious purposes. And I'll leave that there. And so I understand the rules around it. So Disneybounding is a way to sort of have people sort of get right up to the line. And so much of it was people being like, what's the line? Have you gotten into trouble for doing it? I thought it was really, really cool panel. And it's funny because one of the things that I sort of discovered is I don't Disneybound in that way, but I kind of do in that, like I get custom made shirts from this online shop because it's hard to get shirts in my fit. I guess they just jealous. And so, when you order custom shirts online, you can sort of order different color palettes and things of that sort. And I'm always doing like, okay, here's a red, white, and black palette, or here's a black and yellow palette that's like Mickey Mouse or Batman or something like that. And so I was like, I actually do kind of Disney bound, but just not. It's so subtle that like you couldn't tell, because I'm like, it's a shirt I wear for work, or it's a jacket. Like I have so many blue blazers with like a red like lining, and one of them has a total Superman S in the back, but you can't see it because I'm wearing the jacket. And so it's really cool. So all of a sudden I was like, hey, maybe I do Disney bound, and I just haven't, it's so subtle. And for me, like, it's the subtlety. And this is something that Annika talked about. Like, I just want one person out of a million to be like, hey, is that? And then it just makes me so happy.
And yet that happened to you, not wearing Disney property, wearing DC property at a Disney park.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's great.
We're so
great.
embarrassed. Oh, my!
I am not embarrassed. I am proud. Look, I'm wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt right now.
You are. I see that. They don't, but I do. Soon you might, but right now you don't.
Let's not get into it. Part of it is Disney doesn't carry my size. I went shopping for Disney shirts again, and they do not carry. This is the only Disney shirt I've been able to find in my size.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I find that hard to believe. I've been to the parks. No.
Privileged much?
I'm not saying no. Let me rephrase. I don't find it hard to believe that you can't find your size. I find it hard to believe they haven't manufactured.
Yeah.
For
You're leaving
size.
Money on your table. You're leaving money on the table.
Not Disney against you. I am seeing the crowds that are at Disney. They could do very well.
I agree.
With a plus line.
Oh yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I got money in my pocket.
Annika, do you have any Disney bounding favorites that you've done over the years?
Oh, I've done so many over the years.
I know you have. Maybe something that you and Emma have done.
I really don't know. My already spotty memory does not do well with this, but
they do a lot of Elsa and Anna. And I think that's to make their mother happy. We could do a whole episode on that.
No, it's to make me
happy. The
coincidences
are sort of eerie.
Oh
Annika and I were talking about
eerie.
this. I was like, how did you channel this before they were even born? Before the movie came out, that you were going to have two kids that exactly lined up with a Disney movie that wasn't made until they were already born.
I know. It's very weird. We could do a whole episode on that. So Annika, let's talk about, for our duelists, where can they, so if they've never seen cosplay and if they've never seen Disneybounding, just on the off chance, they could find it on Pinterest for sure, right? They could find it on YouTube. You said, yeah. Did they just look that up on YouTube?
Honestly, Disneybounding and cosplay are such hot terms right now, and so widely used. You could just look it up on Google, and you will have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of results. You have examples. You have hashtag Disneybounding on like any social media platform will get you stuff. You'll probably find a lot of tips and tricks in there as well, which is always helpful. Cosplay, you'll get a lot of anime cosplay probably, but you can literally refine it to almost any property you like. Disney cosplay, of course, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds, but you can even do Star Trek cosplay, or I don't even know. There's a lot that you could be very specific about. Netflix originals cosplay, anything.
And TikTok has quite the following as well.
Oh, yes. TikTok. I'm actually a TikTok cosplayer. I create cosplay content on TikTok. Oh, thanks for the shocked face there, mother.
Would you like to share your TikTok handle?
Sure. It is AJ Thespian, as in lesbian, but with a TH and a P instead of a B.
And also an actor.
Thespian is a word for actor, essentially a theater person, but a lot of people don't actually know what that means. So it sounds like lesbian.
Your age.
Yes.
I mean, her age. I'm an actor too.
Well, no.
We grew up with Master Thespian on Saturday Night Live.
Thank you.
Thespian.
Okay. Fair point.
Calm down, mother.
I I create a lot of OC content, which is original character content. There are a few characters that I actually do cosplay. I'm trying to get into more of canon character cosplay. Canon is basically a term used in fandom. If you're unfamiliar with fandom, that's a group that's a fan of something. If you're listening to this, you are more than definitely in the Disney fandom. I'm sorry to report it, but you are. And then canon is basically what is established in the universe versus non-canon, which is usually fan theories and things that people make up. A lot of times you'll see people like, oh, I bet this character's gay. And a lot of people will just be like, yeah, that character's gay. But if it's not established, if they don't have a boyfriend in canon, it's considered not canon. Anyway, short lesson aside, where was I going with this? I had a point. Oh, yes. I do a lot of OC content. So that's original character. I write characters with my friends in an RP roleplay server and cosplay those characters, and we create videos together. There was a point before that. TikTok. Yes, TikTok's a good place to look for resources. We went down like 3 different rabbit holes there. TikTok is a great place to look for those resources. If you're unfamiliar with TikTok, it can be a little difficult at first. It will push a lot of straight TikTok at you, which is what we call it, because gay TikTok is better.
Oh my gosh.
A my generation thing, but it's true. So TikTok will match your algorithm, but especially if you start searching for cosplay or Disneybounding, you'll find lots and lots of material.
And now, my friends, you can see why Al was serious when he said, I wanted to take her to a place where she'd be around her people. Were you around your people for a weekend there, Annika?
Oh, yeah, all types of my people. I managed to hit all the big boxes. Historical dress, as I mentioned before, I hit that a couple of times, which was pretty great.
All right.
I'm a nerd. I know my own kind.
You do, but she's even different than you, like a different nerd type. She's like a faction of the nerd tree.
We are both nerds, and we have that in common, but we can be nerdy about completely different things.
Good God.
And let me just say, for the record, like, Annika and I just hung out and we just had a blast. So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Can't tell you how glad I am. There needs to be somebody who understands her people. So you can be our translator, our mediator. All right. Well, okay, Duelist. Well, we brought you something new in the fact of my youngest daughter, but also cosplay and dueling Disney. Can I even talk? Cosplay and Disneybounding.
People are going to cosplay as us.
I know. Oh yeah.
You got to start growing that beard right now.
You know what? No, I want to see it. If any duelists want to cosplay Andy and Al, I will pay you $5. I don't have that money, but I will pay you $5 to cosplay
from my pocket right now. I don't think so. Anyway, I would love to see pictures of you in your cosplay or Disneybounding. That would be so fun. We have the Dueling Disney Facebook page. However, we have a community going on at Dueling Disney Community Duelists. So much fun. We get a lot more into discussions and photos. I would love to see photos of the cosplaying. It would be so fun to share and talk about that. So we definitely want to hear from you there. Don't forget, we're on YouTube now. You can always find us on our webpage at duelingdisney.com, and then all the socials, not TikTok yet, but Facebook, Insta, Twitter, we're at Dueling Disney. If you hashtag Dueling Disney, we will totally see you there. Don't forget to order your Expedition Roasters coffee. If you are looking for great Disney discount tickets, check out Undercover Tourist. They're right on our webpage too, or right here in our show notes. All of the things. Join the community page. We want to see your pictures. We want to hear from you.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Dueling Disney is your podcast. Here, age relives fond memories of the past, and here, youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Dueling Disney is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.